Jarace Walker is one of the more safe prospects in the draft. His combination of physical traits, skill, and feel give him one of the highest floors among the projected top 10 picks. However, he also has a decently high ceiling as well, and his combination of high floor and relatively high ceiling is why I would consider him as high as pick 4 or pick 5 in this draft, as well as why I think he could fit on any NBA roster. In today's video, I'll be going over my projections for Jarace Walker in his rookie season, as well as my projections for his potential peak. If you want to check out my other 2023 NBA draft prospect projection videos about guys like Victor and Scoot, among others, I'll put the link to that playlist in the description below and the pinned comment with all of those videos. Anyways, let's get into it. Jarace Walker is a 6'8", 250-pound forward with a 7'3" wingspan. He's been physically ready to play NBA basketball since he was 15 years old. That's not an exaggeration. He was about 6'6", 230 pounds at 15. He's always stood out physically compared to his peers, even at a young age. And he combines a frame that is actually comparable to the frame of LeBron James with good athleticism. Now, he's not a freak athlete per se, especially when you compare him to the anime character level athletes in this class like Scoot Henderson, the Thompson twins, or Cam Whitmore, but he is a good athlete. He moves well north to south in a straight line, he moves well laterally, he's a good vertical athlete, he's incredibly strong. From a pure physical standpoint, he should be ready for NBA basketball right away. I don't really see a world where that's an area that he struggles with in terms of physicality against pro competition. Combine that with his skill and feel, and it's easy to see why he's viewed as a top 10 lock in this draft class. Walker is a good passer, he can thrive in a connecting role, he has good vision and feel off the ball, he's unselfish, he plays within the flow of the offense, and then you look at the scoring upside and it gets interesting. He has flash potential as a shot creator and shooter. He needs to improve in those areas, but the signs of potential are encouraging, and he has a chance to be a paint-scoring monster. Offensively, it wouldn't shock me if he's a bit better numbers-wise as a rookie than he was in college, like a Scotty Barnes. It also wouldn't shock me if his numbers are similar to what they were at Houston. I understand it was a loaded Houston team, and he did play in a certain system that meant that he wasn't going to get the basketball a ton. But it is a question of how much of it was the system and how much of it is just who he is as a player. So both outcomes are possibilities in terms of his rookie projections, and we'll talk about that later. But regardless of that, it's the defense that gets me most excited. He's the best defender not named Victor Wembanyama in this class, in my opinion. He's high feel, he has a high motor, he's versatile, he's productive, he does the little things, really just does it all. He can switch onto multiple positions and hold his own. I wouldn't say he's a true 1 through 5 defender. There's like really only one of those in the NBA right now in terms of guys that can legit switch 1 through 5, and that's Bam Adebayo. And I just don't think that's a fair thing to put on Jarace Walker, because I think Bam is the best defensive player in the world. But I do think that he can hold his own on switches. He's going to be productive in terms of blocks and steals. He's excellent in help situations. He can play on the ball and off the ball on defense. He's always engaged. He's a disciplined defender. He doesn't really pick up a ton of fouls. If it wasn't for Victor Wembanyama being a 7'5", 8-foot wingspan, great movement skill player that's also incredible defensively, Jarace would be the cream of the crop in terms of defense in this class. In terms of rookie projections, I could see Jarace Walker putting up around 9.8 points per game, 6.1 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, 52.1, 33.1, 68.7 splits, 1.6 steals per game, 1.4 blocks per game. I know I said he could put up better scoring numbers as a rookie than in college, but the 3 teams I think he's most likely to go to, I feel like they're going to be similar situations to Houston in terms of college, obviously, because I don't think the Rockets are going to take him at pick 4. It is a possibility, but I would doubt that they would take him. So the teams that I think are most likely to take him start with the Detroit Pistons. And if he goes to the Pistons at pick 5, he will be playing with Cade Cunningham, who's a primary initiator. I think people forget just how good he can be because of the injury, but he could be a 20 to 25 point per game, like 7-8 rebound per game, 7 to 8 assists per game player next season. Not a guarantee, but he does have the talent to be that coming back from the injury, although there still is a lot of question about the injury. But I do expect him to play next season and be productive. Jaden Ivey, who could be like a 17 point per game scorer next season. Jalen Duren, who I think is going to take a jump in production and be a double-double guy next season. So there are established guys in Detroit. I think Orlando would be a good spot for him at pick 6. They have Paulo Banchero, who I think legitimately could be an all-star next season. Franz Wagner, who could be an all-star next season. I think that those two are going to lead the Magic to the playoffs potentially next season. You also have Wendell Carter, who can put up like 15, 10, and 3 to 4 assists per game, as well as Markelle Fultz, who's pretty productive. So he wouldn't get the most opportunity there, but could still be effective. And Indiana, he'll be playing with Tyrese Haliburton, who's an all-star. Bennedict Mathurin, who could take a jump to being a 20 point per game scorer next season. Miles Turner, who's productive. Buddy Hield, who's productive, although maybe less Miles Turner because they extended him, but it wouldn't shock me if Buddy Hield isn't on the team much longer. But then you have Andrew Nembhard, who was pretty good, and we could see what's going on with Chris Duarte. But regardless of that, Haliburton, Mathurin, and Turner alone would mean that it's hard to see Jarace Walker put up big-time numbers if he would be drafted by them. So I think based off his draft range, these are the most realistic numbers for his rookie season projection-wise. But I still think he can be an impact rookie. I think his impact is going to be so much greater than the stats suggest, because I think his game will be like Marcus Smart, where the impact isn't fully shown in statistics, but he will have moments with big numbers, and having a guy who can impact basketball with and without putting up big numbers is extremely valuable, which is why I really like him with the Pistons, Magic, and Pacers, who have established pieces already, who are more scoring oriented. In terms of peak projections, I can see Jarace Walker putting up around 16.7 points per game, 9.3 rebounds per game, 4.6 assists per game, 53.7, 37.9, 76.8 shooting splits, 2.4 steals per game, 1.7 blocks per game. I know it's not the 20 plus point per games you would expect from a prospect I think is worthy of going top 4 to 5 in this draft, but I do think his Swiss Army knife role and the versatility would lead to not, great scoring production, but still very good scoring production, especially if he improves as a shooter, which I do think is a real possibility. On top of that, when you combine the production on offense with what he can be defensively, you could be talking about a special player, because I think Jarace Walker has potential to be perennial all-defense good, and even a defensive player of the year candidate one day. A third or fourth option that's solid to good on offense and elite on defense is not only worth a top 5 pick, but also an all-star level player. Now, it's not a guarantee that he reaches these heights and becomes this versatile connecting offensive player and monster defensive player, but I do think his baseline skills and traits are enough to have confidence in him being a really good player for a long time. And I do think his floor at the very least will be a contributor at the NBA level for multiple NBA contracts. I think if you're picking in that 5 to 7 range, a guy who at his best can be a versatile connecting Swiss Army knife forward that puts up good numbers, that fits well with your offense, and is still productive, on top of being an elite defensive player, and at worst, a guy that can be a versatile two-way energy forward in your rotation off the bench, I think that's appealing, and I think that's worth taking in the top 5. And maybe he won't go top 5, but it wouldn't shock me if he returned top 5 value.